What's up, everyone? Nick from Comic Culture here. Time for another Key Comic flip through. We're going to continue down year one, part two of Batman. This is Batman 405. Frank Miller on the story for this one. Dave Mazzucchelli over on the pencils and inks. We have Richard Lewis over on the colors, Todd Klein on the letters, and we have Dennis O'Neil was the editor back then as well. So let's dive into this. March 1987. Still volume one of Batman. Really cool book. If you missed issue 404, you can go back and look at that. It's in my playlist for Key Comic Breakdowns. I highly recommend going through that book first, and then we can jump right back into this one here. So obviously Batman Year One. So this is literally Batman Year One. He's still trying to figure things out. He's a good fighter and stuff, but he's still trying to figure out exactly what his impact's going to be. He's waiting for like his symbol to really take hold and strike fear in the hearts of all these goons. And he just got beat up a whole lot in the previous issue, and so now we're kind of coming off of that with a few lessons learned. We're going into Chapter 2, War is Declared. So let's get into it. This particular issue is mostly about Jim Gordon. He's not commissioner yet. He's still like a lieutenant or something like that, sergeant, and he's going around trying not to piss off too many people. He's working still in a very corrupt situation. And there's this hostage negotiation thing going on with this adult male with a gun right to a child's head, which is probably something you're not going to see anymore in comics. But he knows that if he's not the one that diffuses this situation, that the police force that's on the scene right now is going to mishandle the situation, and there's going to be casualties because of it. So this whole scene here is basically Jim hearing about this gunman over here, this hostage taker. He just got out of Arkham recently. He's got some mental disorders, and it's a very, very bad situation, bad combination of things. And he has to fly in to save the day, you know, taking the curb, things like that, rushing through to the crowd. And we have our gunman right here, basically talking in word salad. If you don't know what word salad is, it's just basically a bunch of different words thrown together that make sense in their heads, but it does not make sense outward. Like he says, said no lunch to gangrene lunch, things like that. No lunch, things like that. So he's yelling all kinds of crazy stuff. Spider nasty, don't noise it. You know, so nobody knows what the heck's going on, but he's very paranoid right now. And so Jim has to approach the situation a certain way. He goes inside the building, he drops his gun, trying to get some kind of, you know, trust from this guy, you know what I mean? And at the last second, he ends up attacking him, knocking him out cold. And this is how Jim's kind of diffusing the situation and kind of saves the day. But you know, he saved the day in front of a bunch of police that really don't appreciate him. They're all corrupt. Even the commissioner's corrupt. And so here we have some of those corrupt cops talking about, you know, like, guys, we got to do something about this guy. But, you know, he's just like a public hero at this point. Everyone loves this guy. He's doing no wrong right now, but he's putting all of us to shame, and we don't really appreciate him. And of course, Jim doing what he does best, trying to take out some of his anger and frustrations, keeping those skills up, even though he just doesn't like guns, he says. You know, I hate my job. I keep practicing it, things like that. Talking about the gun, how it kicks. And there's a very rhythmic thing going on here. And then it goes over to his pregnant wife, another kick, talking about that child's kick inside in utero. And it was kind of a cool little transition here. I did enjoy that when I was reading it. So, you know, Jim's not making any friends at the department. Speaking of not making much friends, we do touch base with Batman here. There's a couple scenes going on at the same time. It's kind of cool to get these city landscapes, and all you see is the black silhouette of Batman rolling through, trying to patrol the areas. He sees some guys, I think this is like a robbery, something like that's going on. 3 different guys on like this catwalk, and he jumps down right into the middle of them. And it's almost like a diary of what's going on. This is in Batman's voice, and he's talking about like, okay, I'm gonna hit this guy first because he looks like the muscular type. The other guy kind of looks like a coward. I don't have to worry about him, but he's still making mistakes. He falls right into the middle of all these guys, accidentally knocking this one guy over the edge, and so he has to save him because they're probably like 8 stories up into the air. He says exactly how far they might be, but like the point is, if he falls, he will die. And of course, he can't have that happen, especially in year one, right? But because he's distracted holding this guy, these other guys have the opportunity now to just beat the crap out of Batman. And that's what they continue to do, even going as far as, I think this is like a television set or something like that. They start beating him over the head with this TV, even though he's holding their friend from essentially his death. A cool thing that happens in this panel right here is he talks about the fact that he gets hit over the head with this TV from this one goon, and you can see it falling right here. And he actually starts talking to himself here. It's like the television, it hasn't hit the street yet. So that gives you some sense of like how far up they are. So I thought that was a really cool thing to like, if he was in the middle of a battle, he's fighting these guys, he notices a large object falling, he can calculate the distance probably about like how high up they are based on how long it takes for this thing to actually hit the ground. Now, of course, he starts to learn, his training, right? He needs to fight back. So he gets the upper hand and starts taking out some of these guys right here. And by the time he ends up taking them out, bam, that's when that TV hits the ground. And again, he's kind of narrating this and he's exhausted at the end of this battle that he just went through. So was it a successful another outing? Probably not. This is kind of how it goes for Batman in year one right now so far in the first 2 issues, but that's what we're up against at this point. Now, we are led to believe there are some dates here, right? So we have May 15th over here, and then back a couple of other pages, we had April. So approximately a month or so has gone by. He's been doing this kind of patrolling very frequently, and it's caught the attention of the cops. There's a lot of eyewitnesses out there. There's Flass, who was one of our corrupt cops that we saw in the beginning that really hated Jim Gordon, and they had a couple different skirmishes in the previous issues, so you can go ahead and look back at that video to see what their relationship is right now, because last time we know Jim kind of takes the upper hand in this relationship. In the beginning, it was kind of the other way around, but we have a couple different eyewitnesses here. He's addressing the police force, basically saying, we have this vigilante out there, this Batman, we're calling him, and we've come up with a pattern that he likes to use. Now, the pattern is, he's out typically between, I think he says midnight and 4 a.m. They're just trying to pick up some clues, right? They're trying to figure out who he's actually attacking. And Flass was one of the victims of a Batman ambush. And the way that he tells the story is he found a bunch of thugs, Flass did. He found a bunch of thugs that he was going to apprehend solo. But of course, he's over here just getting paid off by the boss to kind of, turn a blind eye to all this corruption and things like that. And so it's funny to see his story being told, and then he's also telling the story in these yellow boxes, but you actually get to see what happens in the panels themselves. So it's kind of funny seeing him saying like, oh yeah, I was gonna take on all these guys by myself, and it was gonna be a big thing, and it was a solo effort, but he's getting paid off, and then he ends up being one of the guys that gets his butt kicked by Batman himself. So, he's getting better, he's got his batarangs, he's using element of surprise still, very cool animations and things. And so we have the police force here kind of like laughing at Flass. He's kind of become a joke right now because he's basically in like this full body cast, at least a neck brace and whatnot. He's not even standing at this meeting because of the injuries he sustained while kind of, turning a blind eye to the corruption and stuff when Batman came. We're going to go to May 19th now. We have this mansion setting right here. All these different drivers are parked up. We have Batman crouched down with this bag. This is an interesting thing because it reminds me of the old Adam West Batman where, he would bring like a duffel bag full of stuff and it's full of his gadgets that he needs for that particular night. That's something that we've lost with Batman. He seems to have every gadget he can possibly want in his utility belt. But, if you had a very specific plan for this situation here, you're probably going to have to bring a bag full of stuff to actually execute that plan efficiently, and we get to see what he's doing here in just a minute. But I thought it was a cool thing to add that bag element to it. It's still kind of like shows how much of an amateur he still is with this, but it's also very practical. It's like, how else could you do these kinds of things? So he takes out the drivers, he disarms them, things like that. And of course, we have like the rich elite, right? They're all getting together. They're talking about whatever kind of business they need to talk about, whatever corruption they need to talk about. But we have Batman outside the windows here where they're eating, like setting up floodlights. You know what I mean? Like that's not something that Batman's going to have inside of his utility belt in a modern Batman book. Although he'd probably have some kind of like nano flash, a floodlight or something like that. So he's setting up all these lights outside with like the bodies of guards laying around. So that's pretty funny. And he's got all these little grenades that he's setting up too. And these microphones and whatnot. So he actually throws a smoke grenade through the window, alarming everybody in there. He snips the power with these like full-size wire cutters that he would nowadays have like built into his finger or something like that, into his glove. But the whole idea is he's going to strike fear into his enemies. So you can imagine the wall of a dinner party that you're eating at explodes. There's smoke everywhere. There's a big flash of light. And then through the smoke, as it's kind of dissipating, you see this bat figure here that you've been hearing about for the past couple of months from all your goons. And you just don't know what to make of it at that point. And I thought this was pretty clever as well. There's actually a single source of light still, this like I don't know, this flame from whatever they're eating, and he extinguishes the flame. But in this shot right here, he's got his mask and he's got like this mustache kind of a thing, definitely reminiscent of Zorro, probably a flashback, some kind of a key thing right there. But I thought it was a cool little Easter egg that, you know, we have this almost like Zorro looking character at the end, and it's a pretty cool progression right here to Pitch Black. Now, if you remember a couple of pages ago, we had the police force set up right now, talking about like this bat figure that's been terrorizing the town. Their idea at this point is, listen, we got to capture this guy. We don't know what his intentions are. We don't know what his motivations are, but we got to capture this guy. So what are we going to do? Well, let's put a victim out there. Let's get some police people. We'll put them in some civilian clothing, and we're going to stage this like attack. You know what I mean? So we're going to go to a rough part of the town. We're going to put this damsel in distress out there. We're going to fake some kind of a mugging and whatnot. And Batman's like, he's totally onto it. He's just chilling in the corner. It's a cool shot right here because they use these panel breaks to kind of separate the panel because they have their grid going on, but it's the same continuous image going across, and it totally works. I like that a lot. And of course, you know, their way of like connecting these things is to draw the foot through here and the car and the buildings and whatnot. So it's a really cool shot from behind. And then of course we get our side-by-side panel, and then we have our Batman kind of isolated on his own, but it totally works. So that was a cool thing, but Batman's onto it. You know what I mean? He's not falling for any of this kind of stuff. And they mentioned that as well. Like, yeah, he's totally onto us. We don't know what's going on, but you know, what we're doing is not working right now. We have Jim meeting with Harvey Dent as well. And Jim notices that he's got these barbells and these weights and things like that. And like, he's drawn very muscular, you know what I mean? He's not like a frump. He's not overweight or anything like that. Like, he seems like a formidable kind of a guy, and he kind of throws it off as like, oh yeah, I just need to stay in shape and things like that, and things are getting rough and whatnot. But Jim's kind of having a suspicion that maybe Harvey's Batman, you know, like who could have the amount of technology, the amount of free time, like the physical ability to be Batman. So he kind of, you know, starts putting on his detective brain right here and he's thinking like, you know, maybe Harvey could be Batman, and that's not totally unreasonable. I think that's a pretty logical thing to start thinking about. And of course, Batman, once Gordon has left, Batman has actually been crouching down, like in the leg area of Harvey's desk right here. They're already working together at this point, and they're trying to figure some stuff out. So I thought that was kind of cool. This really doesn't mature in this issue. Maybe we'll see it mature in the other issues, like what their plan is. And so, but I thought it was kind of funny to see Batman. Like, we always see him disappearing in these comics and in the shows and stuff, but like, yeah, he's just crouched down, man, behind this desk. I thought that was hilarious. Gordon's on, you know, maybe on patrol or something like that. He has another detective or whoever she might be from the police force with him right now. And there's like some temptation stuff going on. You know what I mean? Like, you know, he can taste her lipstick on the cigarette and things like that. And there's some flirtatious stuff going on. There's some stuff that he potentially, you know, he's not really getting at home right now for obvious reasons. You know what I mean? So there's like this weird sexual tension going on, but they almost get hit by this runaway van right here, this bus. And so it kind of brings them to a halt. And so when they start trying to figure out what the heck is actually going on, they notice that the driver right here maybe had like a heart attack, maybe it's pills. That's what they keep saying over here. And they're out of control. That's all they know. This big bus is out of control. At the same time, Batman's up on top of the buildings doing what Batman does. He witnesses this exact same thing going down. And what's kind of cool is we both see them putting it all on the line. You know, Batman jumps into action. Jim's like, listen, grab the wheel. I got to jump over there to try to save this person because they're about to hit these innocent bystanders on the road. And then we see that moment happening right here. We have the headlights hitting this lady right here. We have Jim jumping from car to bus, trying to stop it. He just can't stop the wheel. We have Batman doing his acrobatics, jumping right into here and then diving to save the woman as Jim's trying to get up into the here to, you know, grab the wheel and turn it. So they both had to help each other out to save the day right here, which I thought was a pretty cool thing that they both had that immediate reaction. This is like their first team up in a way to save some people. Of course, they're rolling around and things like that. Jim, you know, he falls down, hits his head, kind of blacks out, which is what we're seeing right here. When he regains consciousness, the lieutenant that he was with previously, the one he kind of was flirting with a little bit, has Batman in her sights. And basically Jim's trying to get up right now, like, don't take your eyes off him. But he's confused. He's like, listen, he saved the day. So he's battling that right now in his head. But before he can really, put words out, Batman attacks and disarms the lieutenant right here and starts running away. Well, the cops are actually on their way too. Jim is still blacking out a little bit here, which I suppose this is what this means over here. The cops do show up eventually, but they're on the case now, right? He's like, he ran over there, but he was trying to help or something like that. Jim's still kind of on the fence, like, okay, do we want to take this guy out, or do I just want to kind of assess the situation first? So he's on the fence a little bit about how they need to handle the Batman situation here. And he says, save the old woman. He did, but the cops are seeing Batman. They start shooting at him. They clip the back of his leg. He's still on the run. All this dialogue is basically like, I need to get to the roof. I need to get through this alley. It's a dead end. Oh, wait, I can go through this window right here, this boarded up window, which is what you see going on right here. And then Jim's telling everybody, listen, don't shoot right now, because like I said before, Batman just helped him save the day. So it's like, is he a friend or is he a foe? We don't really know, but his most recent actions would suggest that he is on their side. Batman kind of going through this building right now. There's some junkies or whoever passed out on the floor right here. He's trying to get to the rooftop, all this stuff. But again, this whole place is run by some corrupt cops, and they know they have Batman in this relatively abandoned building, this building that is one that they can afford to lose. And the commissioner actually calls in a helicopter strike to blow the building up and, completely collapse the building with Batman inside of it. And this was kind of the plan all along, to kind of get him in a situation where it's inescapable, so we can just go ahead and take him out. Man, and that's how the issue ends. That was a really crazy issue. I really do love seeing Batman in a position where he's still trying to figure things out. Gordon doesn't know who he is. He doesn't know who Gordon is, and they're just trying to figure some stuff out, trying to leave their mark on the mob still at this point. And, just trying to size each other up, which is what we kind of see towards the end of this issue. The next issue we're going to be getting into is going to be Year One, Part 3. I'm sure we're going to have Batman trying to escape this area. Is Jim going to help him? Who knows what's going to happen there? Can't wait to get into that one, though. But thank you so much for sticking around for Part 2 of Batman Year One. If you guys picked this up when it was first coming out back in the day, let me know down below in the comments what you guys thought about this Batman run in general. I'd love to hear some more of those stories, so make sure to drop them on down below. But thanks again for watching. Make sure to check out my other key comic breakdown videos in the playlist. Thank you so much. We'll see you in the comments.